So as an overview, the one quality is that start, that beginning. So what's the strength of the one? Independence, individuality. And you will find that anyone who has one in their makeup feels that raw strength. And if you have too much one in your makeup, a person feels it as a physical force. And I'm sure you've met people where you think, whoa, they just about bowled me over with their physical nature or their strength. If they didn't want to do something, they didn't do it. They wouldn't budge, just, like a mule, stuck, not going to move. Why? It's because they're set within their own thoughts and feelings and interests. And it's very hard for them to see it beyond. So that is the negative side, is where the one quality then becomes too dominant, too independent, and so physically strong that they won't budge. You'll find, though, that that one quality has such a strength of perseverance. And they enjoy getting out in nature and pitting their energies against nature in a practical way. So you'll find that the one is a very practical nature. And usually they use their fists. Like if a one gives you a handshake, you know you've had a handshake. You think, oh, my ring, my finger, my knuckles. So if you see a one-ish person, you just sort of gently put your hand out because you know you're going to get a real grip. And so they're very strong and physical in that way. Thing is with the one, because the one, you think of the little seed in the ground. There's nothing around it. There's no comparison. So the one only sees it from their viewpoint. So as a result, the one can be very self-centered and self-focused. And they don't always notice the little things. And the one is very honest and they're straightforward. And if you want an honest opinion, go to a one quality. But if you don't want an honest opinion, you'll discover you're better to go to the two quality. And the one doesn't know how to sort of develop sort of ideas. And if you say to them, do you like my dress? And maybe it's one that's sort of a little low cut in the front and doesn't have too much material down the back. And they'll say, well, where is it? Or you paid that much for that little bit of fabric? And so you'll find as you get to know people and see that quality, they don't mean anything wrong. They don't mean to be unkind. But they're saying as they see it. They just see there's not much fabric there. And you paid $200 for the little bit of fabric? So they'll just say it as they see it. And so you'll come to appreciate with the one quality that they're very, very forthright. They're self-reliant. They don't ask other people. They just go and do it. Once again, blunt and honest, straightforward. It's either a yes or a no. They don't really know what the word maybe means because they're very forthright in their expression. Now, the physical body is actually created through all the cells and the tissues and so on, but there are actually 9 systems in the body. And you'll come to appreciate that every part of the body relates to one of the qualities from 1 to 9. And with the one quality, it's relative to the bone structure and the senses of the head. And you'll come to appreciate that allied weaknesses are relative to the one quality, often relative to the senses of the head, because they have such a sensitivity, they have such a physical strength that that power builds up. And as a result, sometimes the one quality has such a pressure that they just either can see red or they find they have tremendous headaches, eye problems, and so on. And it's because through the physical structure, when the power of the name is concentrated in a certain area, it's like focusing a magnifying glass on something. After a while, you could actually burn a hole. And that's what happens in the physical body. When there's too much of a particular quality, it focuses on that area of the body. And you'll find with the one, it is definitely relative to the senses of the head and the physical formation of the bone structure. So we're just going to move on and just briefly go over the 9 qualities just to give you an overview of how the characteristics relate. Now the next phase is the 2 quality. And as we said in the growth of the plant, it's that germination, it's the spreading, it's the changing from the singular to the dual. And what happens? You get communication, you get exchange. And so the 2 quality represents the quality of reason in life is searching for an ability to create understanding through the heart and the minds of other people. There's just a need for harmony and peace with the 2 quality. And you'll find that their natural reason for being is to create, and they're endowed with a sensitivity and intuitiveness so that they can communicate and exchange. The visual example of a 2 is often a diplomat, and you'll see someone creating harmony between 2 merging and opposing ideas. And so that's a part of the strength of the 2. And so you'll find that the 2 quality has natural tact, diplomacy. When you compare it to the 1, you'll find that the 1 is this independent quality where the 2 likes to share. The 2 qualities motto is, it's not where you go or what you do, it's who you take along. Because they feel the need for support. And in that support, they feel comfortable and secure. And they don't lack the same confidence, have the lack of confidence. Because they can bounce an idea off of somebody else. The other day we were in a restaurant and someone was ordering a sandwich. And it was just this is something that you'll find interesting in observing human nature. You can just be ordering a sandwich. And I wished I could have asked this person what their name was. Because the waitress said, "What would you like?" And he said, "I'd like a tuna sandwich." She said, "Oh, would you like it on white or brown?" Pause, pause, pause. Finally the waitress said, "You know, most people order it on brown." "Oh, thank you, I'll have it on brown." Well, that's just a silly little example, but it was an illustration of a person that couldn't make up their mind, couldn't come to a decision. And that's the weakness of the 2 quality. It's hard for them to come to that precise, decisive decision-making quickly. And yet you'll find they can be as quick as a tack. You know, if you put them on the spot and they're not quite sure whether they say yes or no, they'll come up with a plausible answer, and you know you're not sure whether they said yes or no, but you think, well, I guess they meant maybe. Because they don't want to offend anybody, so they'll often kind of slide in to make sure that the decision isn't going to cause a problem. So that indecisive quality is a real weakness. You know, I think so, but I'm not sure. And then if you step in and say, "Was this what you mean?" "Oh, yes, that's what I meant." So you'll find that smooth quality, you know, the smooth, troubled waters are always eased by someone that understands how to communicate. That's where they're quick-minded. And if you're working with someone and they're strong in the 2s, just come to appreciate that you have to nurture them a little bit more. And if you ask them a direct question again, like you say, "Did you get that job done yesterday?" They're quick enough to say, "Well, you know, I was working on it." They didn't say yes, they didn't say no, but they let you know they were working with it. So it's really, really interesting how you'll come to appreciate the influence of that 2 quality. They're not robust and aggressive like the 1. Like if you give the 1 quality a goal to go outside and to dig a well or something, they won't ask 5 people to come and do it. They'll figure it out for themselves and they'll have it done in perfect order. The 2 will say, well, would you come and help me? And do you think we should dig it 2 feet, 5 feet? Or, you know, they're always needing that reassurance. And so it's a quality that needs support. The health weakness of the 2 quality, but once again, the germination's relative to the fluids. So the glandular system, kidneys, the fluids of the body are the weakness of the 2 quality. We're going to go into more detail after tonight's class, but just to give you an overview of the strengths and the weaknesses of the qualities. Now, the 3 quality stands for self-expression. Why? When you think of the growth of the plant, you know, you see the seed in the ground and you think there's growth, then all of a sudden you look out and you think, there's the promise. It's starting. So you realize that the beginning is that activity. And the 3 quality reminds me of a little chicken and egg. You know, you see the egg and then all of a sudden the chick's just, the eyes are out, the feet are going, and they're just ready to move forward because there's such an interest in life and activity. And so self-expression is the power of the 3 quality. You know, 3 thinks life is a parade, and usually they're the clowns because they love acting up. They love doing things to bring a little humor. You know, if something's a little dull for a while, they'll just be figuring out what they can do, and it's so spontaneous because it's a lifting, buoyant energy. Why we all need the 3 quality in our makeup and to develop that quality. And if we don't have it, you realize that if we're a little more serious, we should learn to incorporate the 3 quality because it is a very lifting, buoyant energy. The quality of the 3 is to express through the power of the word. And they feel that so strongly. In fact, they usually get the last word. You know, you'll say to them, "You shouldn't be doing that anymore," or "This is the conclusion of our discussion." "Yes, thank you." Or they'll make some little response, or "No, I don't like that." "Well, you said you did." "No, I didn't." And they're just a little argumentative because that creates activity, that creates exchange, that creates interest amongst your discussion. You'll find that the 3s don't usually walk, they bounce. They just sort of have that little buoyant quality, just that energy, that zest for life. And you know, you'll also find that the 3s just seem to get away with things. You know, the boss might say, "You know, I had to fire that fella, but you know, he's so likable." because they just have that enthusiasm, that zest. But unfortunately, they're not as practical, and they many times don't finish the things they start unless they're really enthusiastic about it. And you'll find that they're very caring and very spontaneous. They're the ones that you say, going to Bellingham? Sure, drop everything, we're going right now. They're just so responsive and outgoing. They're very generous. They've got hurt feelings. It doesn't last very long because who wants to be unhappy in life? The threes want to be happy. They want to enjoy life, and so they don't stay down very long. But they can be over-emotional. The power of the word expresses so quickly through the three quality that sometimes through argumentativeness, they can be a little sarcastic, but it's more just because they want to create discussion back and forth. You'll discover another quality that when they're sarcastic, they really mean it. But the three is forgiving and forgetting, and they're very fun-loving. So you'll find with the three quality, because of that expressive outgoing nature, they usually like the quick energy foods, which stimulates and heats the bloodstream. So their weakness is often in the liver or overheated bloodstream, affecting their skin, causing sensitivities to eczema and outbursts on the skin, which is everything coming out of the body. And you'll realize that oftentimes the three quality just overdoes it because of their enthusiasm. If they like something, they'll make a sandwich with everything in it, not just the butter and the bread and the lettuce and maybe one piece of tuna. They'll put the pickles and the tomato and the onions, and you'll have a dagwood. You know, you just have a huge sandwich because it's more interesting, more tasteful, more flavorful. So as a result, it can affect them through the overheated bloodstream.